We cannot wait for the state to fix our problem.
Welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg. From local government to economic development and real estate. If it's happening in Fredericksburg, Texas, we talk about it. Now your host, Leanne Bailey.
Just to kind of get started, I've kind of mentioned it before, but one of my goals of the podcast is just to get to know folks in Fredericksburg, for people in the community or people that are wanting to move into the community, to just learn more about what's going on around here. I think it's cool that we have kind of been a small town, grassroots community. We don't have a news channel. We have a weekly newspaper, but otherwise there's just a lot of news coming out of town. But there's just so many neat people here, and my goal is just to visit with those people, and I want to know about you personally and professionally. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our listeners and viewers, this is Leslie Krieg. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
It's an old German name,
yes.
I would imagine. And so as an old West Texan, I don't know how to say old, but as a West Texan, I'm learning how to pronounce. Yes, thank you. So Leslie, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Sure. I'm glad you asked me.
Thank you. Well, we go back, I would say, a little ways. We've worked together on different things over in the past with our businesses. I'll let you talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then also, we are friends and share some interests with our kids. Mm-hmm. And so we've got personal and professional stuff to talk about today. So, well, why don't you dive right in and tell me a little bit about who you are and who you represent today, and tell the viewers what they need to know about Leslie Krieg.
Well, my name is Leslie Krieg. My maiden name is Emil. I grew up here in Fredericksburg. Was born and raised here. My dad was a farmer and a rancher, and my mother was a teacher. And we also, at one point in time, had a car dealership, and that was Emil Motors. And so that's kind of been my background, and how I grew up here was long lineage of people who moved here and grew up here.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember when I moved here about 10 years ago, Emil was one of the first names that I had heard, or I had met some folks. With my husband having a job at the city of Fredericksburg, there were Emils up there, and good people, and a lot of history with Fredericksburg. So your parents lived here. Did you all have family before that lived here?
We did, yes. My grandmother was a Klein on my dad's side. Her family were Dickers. Mm-hmm. And in fact, we have two ranches in that side of the family that were what they call heritage land ranches. Mm-hmm. And they have been designated as heritage land ranches, which means they've stayed in the family for over 100 years.
No kidding.
So both the Dicker side and the Emil side, the Klein side, all of those lineages have been farming and ranching here in the community for a long, long time.
Wow. That is impressive.
Yes.
People talk about being a second, third, fourth, fifth generation Texan, but they don't always talk about being second, third, fourth, fifth generation local Fredericksburg families. There's a lot of that history here, I know, versus maybe some of the other cities and towns in Texas. And that's what I love about Fredericksburg, that deep history, the deep roots. Mm-hmm. So now you did go away for college, right?
I did.
To that one school that I know.
Like.
Yeah. So you went to Texas A&M. I can say it. It's fine.
You can do it.
It's fine. And so then you were gone. You weren't in Fredericksburg. What brought you back?
Sure. So after A&M, my husband and I moved to Dallas. He was an engineer at the time, and I worked in real estate. And we just knew that in order to kind of gain a little more knowledge and understanding of those industries, we kind of had to go work for some bigger companies and really get a better understanding of the bigger picture. So we lived in Dallas for about 10 years. He worked for an engineering firm, also got his surveying license at the time. And then I worked for a multifamily company. I worked for a commercial business, real estate business up there, and then also land development and acquisition. Part of what I did was market research and identifying new metropolitan areas. And then once we figured out which metropolitan areas we wanted to look at, we would find the specific spots of where we wanted to buy land for those specific areas.
Wow. I mean, I know in the lender world what you do right now, but I had no idea that wealth of knowledge. We've not really talked a whole lot about that. So it's really great to know that. That's like the heavy data side of the real estate.
Yeah, it was a really fun job as a young person to be able to travel all over the United States and really identify different markets and what made them tick and what were going to work for the specific companies that I worked for and the specific type of structures that they were looking at building, what side of the market they wanted to be on. They were both mainly luxury side, and just understanding what those markets look like and where you would choose to buy land to develop those type of things.
Yeah. So that gives you such a toolbox and the history and the resources that you probably use today, and we'll get into what you do today in a second, but really gives you a lot to pull back on those experiences and help with what you're so good at today.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah, I bet. Like, what are some of the most favorite, memorable places that you traveled?
Oh, well, thinking about it now, I can't imagine letting my daughter do it. But, I was newly out of college, newly married, and I would go to fun places like Atlanta and Charlotte and all on my own and just start with a map and figure out where I needed to go and where I needed to be. And I was on my own, and it was fun. It was exploration, and just renting a rental car at that young age, because you had to be, I think, 23, and I was just at that age, or 27, I can't remember. So it was always a challenge. But I'm always looking for the answer to things or how to solve problems, and that to me was really fun, that market research side of things, to really understand why markets were the way they were, why a demographic bought in the way that they bought, and what makes people tick and what makes people buy where they buy or the type of housing they choose to live in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's everything that we do here in real estate today, that having that background knowledge to pull from and be so helpful. When I'm trying to market to my clients on the real estate side, where are they coming from? What do they want? What's the most popular? Wow, I should probably visit with you more often.
Well, and it's fun to match people up with the right people that are going to get them to the point where they're buying what they really want. And to have the expertise is very important. I think in the job that I do right now with Capital Farm Credit, a lot of what we do is the rural lending side, the ranch lending side. And then we have a lot of people looking now to homestead. They want to homeschool their kids. They want to grow their own food. And, they really need to have a ranch realtor or broker that understands what the land does for them and make it. And it's important that they don't buy on a rock. If that's what they're wanting to do. So I love that part of my job is relationship building and putting people with the right people to find exactly what their dream place is, because that's kind of the fortunate part of where we live is this is people's dream, and we just get to live it every day, which is amazing. And that's just the most fun part of my job, is to help people really get what they want at the end of the day, or make their lives better, make their families' lives better, because they're choosing a different lifestyle by moving around to the hill country.
Yeah. Well, there's so many key, awesome points that you just made. So I'll backtrack a little bit. You are a lender with Capital Farm Credit. You've been with them for a long time, and then have moved into the lending side of it. Tell me a little bit about that process and where you are, and what we need to know about.
Sure. So typically with Capital Farm Credit, we focus on land that's typically over 10 acres. We do have products for home sites, which are less than 10 acres, so we can help you with that as well. But typically what we try to do at Capital Farm Credit is help people buy rural land and keep land in rural production. So we can not only help you buy property, we can also help you with improvements, or if you do want to get into the agriculture side of things, we can help you with operating loans. We do a lot of that is helping young people get started with cow-calf operations, or like a lot of the people coming maybe from the Metroplex or from Austin or Houston who just really want to get out of the rat race, and they're trying to look for a whole new different way to think about making a living. So, there's people who want to do organic farming. There's lots of opportunity right now in the vineyards and the winery industries, and trying to help them understand what venues they have for financing, or how to grow their business, or where to go, where to start. We've got lots of resources for those things. So,
I know you do. You've been quite a resource for us on the real estate side. But there's a little component that I was thinking of when you're talking about what Capital Farm Credit does. But your experience probably growing up on, in rural America, on a ranch with your parents, that gives you a wealth of knowledge too. I'm an old farm girl, and I used to just cringe when my daddy would put me, on the tractor and say, plow this field. Bless his heart. The rows were always crooked because I would doze off, daydream and be looking at something, then wake up, or, cutting hay fields and stuff like that. But, as an adult, I kind of dream of going back to that easy time of life and the quiet and stillness, and the being on the earth and hands in the soul kind of thing. So how has that played a part in what you do today?
So I think the biggest thing, I also have two older brothers, and I am fortunate that they were probably more of a key role in the farming and the ranching side with my dad. They were very close to him. And I just got to grow up in that way of life, learning how to work hard and be accountable, how to understand how important family is, and working together. Like I said, we had two different businesses, so everybody is working together to come to a common goal, and just living and growing up here where your family is close. I mean, that's one of the reasons we moved back, is that both of our parents were here, and we really just felt like it was important to raise our kids in that environment where they knew their grandparents, and had some roots here. And so it has really worked out just the way that we had hoped for. Our children understand the importance of family, and the importance of just giving back. And that's I think what really has been a part of growing up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure. I think as a woman, seeing you on the lending side, we do have a lot of men, and I think that's great. But as a woman, you give a little bit of that nurturing, bring that nurturing into, the business and the lending side of it, because I know families are so important, like you just said. And so just to have that way you grew up, and you see it, and you can be a part of that chapter for them. And I know without a doubt you probably become forever friends with your clients, because I know that's the type of person you are. And just, watching families grow over the years, and their kids grow up and be a part of the school systems and stuff like that. I'm sure that's important to you.
Yeah, and I'm just a big proponent of, I know that I don't know everything, and I just love finding those people who can answer questions for me or be a part of my team. Especially at work, we're big on team, and if I've never done a row crop loan or know how to understand how to do that, I can always have resources that I can call that will help me right away and work together. Same thing throughout my office, throughout our region. We're always working together to do the right thing for the customer.
I love that. Mm-hmm. So it's like community only at work.
Right. So absolutely. It's for sure family at work.
Yeah. I love that. Like that. I mean, that's why it was so important to me to have you here, because I feel that way when I'm with you. I feel like I'm important to you as a client and a professional business person, but then as a friend. And that's hard to beat. Like, I mean, and that's part of the reason I wanted to do the podcast, was because relationships are important, and getting that communication and talking and visiting. And that's so important to get back to that. And, I think my parents have always said I could talk the bark off a tree, but I love visiting with people. There's so much that you can learn. Like, I had no idea your background. That's incredible. And I would too freak out if, I thought about my daughter doing that at this point, and her young age.
Days were different then. Days were different then.
They were. But what a wealth of knowledge.
Well, and that's the same when we talk about Fredericksburg, the Fredericksburg I grew up in versus where we are today.
Sure.
And for me, as a local, I am so excited to see where we are. I know that there's been so much growth, but the people that have moved here have opened up our minds and have contributed so much over the last 30 years since I was gone to the community. I mean, we have a theater. We never had a musical theater here.
Yeah.
We had more than 3 restaurants. You know, when I grew up, there was a few Mexican food restaurants. There was Andy's Diner. There was, just a few handful, maybe a Dairy Queen, maybe a Sonic. But that was it.
Yeah.
And so just all of the beautiful things that people have come and moved here and given to our community is, in my opinion, has been wonderful. And it's great to have a rural community that continues to thrive and that you can move home to.
You're very involved in your job in the community. And I know you have 2 kids that have gone through one has gone through the public school, and you have a senior this year. That's terrifying, isn't it?
Yep.
It's exciting, scary, sad, all the things.
Yes, it is.
How's that going?
It's fun. It's fun. I mean, she's ready to go on to that next step, and she's an awesome kid. So I'm not concerned with her next step.
Yeah.
I'm excited for her next step because she's ready for that. My son has also started at college, and he's moving on in his best life as well. So I'm just in a great spot. My kids are doing well, and they're happy, and for me, that's all that matters.
Well, I know you've had a huge part in that. If I know anything about both of them, they have a little bit of their mom in them. They'll be fine. We don't get to talk so much about the school all the time, and we'll have guests, like to the superintendent here and some various players that are with the school district. But there's something that you participate in with the school district that is really impressive to me, and I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So I'm the president of the Fredericksburg ISD Education Foundation, and we, a group of community members, including myself, got together and just really started talking about how do we help solve the problem for our school district. We give away over 35% of our property taxes each year back to the state for redistribution to poorer districts. And that amount increases every year. And every single year, our district struggles to keep our teachers paid and to do all of the extra things we need to do for our less advantaged students, which is a large percentage of our population as well. There's a big disconnect in our community because we have a lot of wealth here. But when you look at our student population, that is not the demographic of our school district. So a lot of our school resources are spent just making the day-to-day work. And we don't have anything extra to reward our teachers on a yearly basis for doing those great things. And so what we did as a group was start this foundation. And we're in our 6th year of fundraising and doing well. We raised over $235,000 this year. And that goes to directly to the district. The teachers write grants for things that they need in their classroom, whether that's new equipment, new specialized books or manipulatives or curriculum. Some of the new curriculum we're working with them on for the middle and high schools is career and college and military, and being ready, starting in middle school, thinking about the things that you're interested in and what all is out there. And then also starting to build a plan for high school. And then after high school, what do you want to do? What are the options out there? And then also helping them build those resumes and keeping track of all the things that they do in high school in order to build a strong foundation for whatever they want to do after high school. And so that's one of the really fun things we get to do is find all of the things that are new and upcoming and try to help the district and try to help the teachers and the counselors find resources. And so that's kind of where we've been heading, is trying to solve that problem locally, because the Robin Hood's never going to go away, and the opportunity to make a change that's going to impact our district from the state level is challenging, to say the least. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of work. And we are almost a bubble here in Fredericksburg where we're property wealthy and population poor from a school district standpoint.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're so unique in Fredericksburg in so many ways, and especially with that school district and like you're saying, the funding, it's hard to think about how much money is leaving the school. And our buildings are very historic, the middle school being one of the oldest buildings in town. Mm-hmm. And, it's a safety concern too, some of this stuff. And I applaud you all and I'm in awe of like the work that's been done just to supplement, what's already being done. And so that's what I think that makes Fredericksburg cool is people say, you know what, there's a need and we're not sure that we can overcome that because it's a bigger deal. It's a statewide thing. So we're just going to get busy and roll up our sleeves and we're just going to start getting to work. And I mean, $200 and something thousand, that's incredible.
Yes.
I mean, and you're just growing.
Yes.
Like every year you're just adding more.
We're growing year over year and more people are starting to understand what we're here for and the struggles that our district has. I mean, again, we have lots of people move in here that look at our beautiful, wonderful town and they think that that's what it is for all different strata of population here. But we have a large population that is not that. And do need more help and more guidance and things like that.
Yeah, and really, when you look at the cost of things, the public, we don't always really understand what it costs to get something done, and so we tend to think, well, that's simple. Will somebody just pay for it? And it doesn't always work that way. You have to make things super safe. You have to use certain. It's not like you would build or do or use something that you would at home because you're okay if there's not certain safety features, but we can't always do that, with the school and the kids and make sure they're safe and having the utmost, software, books, equipment. I think it's incredible.
Well, and school finance is super convoluted and super difficult. And we have a fabulous group of administrators here trying to do everything we can and everything they can to use our money wisely. But at the end of the day, when the bucket is 35% short, it's really, really hard to make positive progress in the way of finance for the teachers and really helping them. So that's really why we started was we were like, look, we cannot wait for the state to fix our problem. And we have so many people here who love the school district and see the great things that they're doing. And let's just get out there and try to raise some money to help the teachers.
So how many are involved in the program right now or the fundraising group?
We probably we have 14 on our board and then we probably have another 20 that volunteer
so not
in one way or another. No.
What do you all have planned this year that we need to know about? Is there something that you want to tell us, like be on the lookout for this? We're going to be
so
support.
Typically our the next thing we have going is Honor an Educator, and that will be in March and April, where you can donate money to Honor an Educator, and then we post that in the newspaper and on social media, all the educators that are being honored, and that just is another way to honor our teachers, both current and retired, or
so it doesn't have to just be someone that's teaching right now.
Just anybody that made a difference in your life, and then we notify those individuals that they've been honored by somebody. And then our regular fundraising cycle is at the end of the year.
Okay.
We kind of take a break in the summer as the teachers do, and then we start promoting the grant process. And once the teachers get back to school in August, they hit the ground running and they think about all the things they want for their classroom and they write their grants. And then in September, we award those grants with a big fun bus. We drive around all the campuses and we wave, we cheer and we wave and we high five everybody and we get to give big checks away. So
I like big checks.
Yes.
Big checks are fun.
We've been able to do some amazing things. One of the biggest and best that we were able to do this year was at the elementary school. The special ed classroom asked for new equipment. And we were able to grant almost $8,000 worth of brand new equipment for all the special ed kids. And it's amazing equipment.
Wow.
It's really just going to make a difference in their life day after day.
Yeah. Man, that got me a little too.
Yeah. And our teachers are amazing because they take the time to sit down and ask for it. And that's all that they have to do is just ask for it.
Gosh, that's incredible. I I don't know that I always think about all the specific needs of every demographic in our school.
Right.
These kids are so important. And, when we talk about community, kids are our future here. And just like you coming back, we have to have, or we want people to want to be back in the community. And if we foster and support and love our kids, they're going to come back.
Right.
So,
well, and just inspiring them to do more. We do have aging buildings, and so they're not always the most inspirational to walk into. But if we can help the teachers in the classroom provide some more equipment or manipulatives or resources in any way to make their educational experience more exciting and just up to date with technology, then that's a mission accomplished. If we can just make the kids, not make them, but offer engage, something to engage at a different level than what they've done in the past.
I love that. That's so great. I've known a little bit about the foundation, but had no idea of the scope. So thank you for sharing that. At some point at the end of the podcast, we'll add that information, and hopefully those that are interested can contact you guys and donate or volunteer or whatever. Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I love that. And then maybe in September you can come back on the podcast and talk about those that were awarded, and you can act like you're on the bus and we'll cheer them on.
That'd be fun.
I think that would be fun. Oh,
yeah.
Well, so let's circle back around. What is something I always want to ask my guests, just to kind of bring everything back around to the ending, is just talk about what is something as a family that you guys really enjoy, something that you would hope would continue to stay here and be something that your kids will always come back to and be like, sorry, that's something that we did with my family, my mom and dad, and as we,
grew up. I think for me, one of the biggest aha moments has been, realizing that what we have in Fredericksburg is special. And as we grow and we see what else is out there, I just want my kids to still be grounded, still understand that all these people that they grew up with for 18 years are still going to be there. I still have monthly lunches with several of my high school friends that have moved back, and still keep in touch with a lot of my friends that haven't moved back but are still in other areas like Dallas. And it's just like you picked up the day before. And I think that's just part of our community. We watch out for each other, and we're concerned for each other. And I know today that any of the people I grew up with, if I have an issue and somebody in my family can't help me out, they're going to be right there to help me. And that is not the way it is in many, many places. I have other friends that grew up in larger schools, in larger school districts in Austin, where they couldn't tell you where one of their friends is today. And I think really when it gets down to it, raising children in Fredericksburg, Texas is an amazing place to be.
Amen. My daughter, Sterling well. She went to school at Texas Tech. She's a freshman this year, and didn't take her one semester to get there and say, man, I did not realize how great Fredericksburg was. When every kid wants to get out and go to school, I can't wait to get out in the real world and do my thing. And it did not take long for her to realize the quality of life we have here, the things that we are afforded through the tourism that comes, the good restaurants, the cleanliness. When Clinton and I moved here, I remember riding around with the realtor then, and everybody's yards were mowed, everything was clean, and everything's painted nicely. And I remember Clinton asking the realtor, what do you do if somebody doesn't mow their yard? And she said, oh no, people just do it. There's a lot of pride in the community. And that really stuck with me for a long time. And I see it. There is such a great pride here, but it's not just for our properties or our businesses. It's really a lot of pride in the kids and our friends and family. And coming here from West Texas, people have been very welcoming to us, and it feels like we've been here much longer. And folks like you guys that have welcomed us and taken us in and supported us. So it's been great. Fredericksburg's so unique. It's
and
lovely.
And it's just, like I said, it's been fun to see it grow and change. And that's part of my personality, though, is I love to find out what people are doing or where they're from or where they came from or what makes them tick. And I love those opportunities. And so it's really fun to learn what all is out there, just simply because we are in a small bubble here. And that's one of the things that makes me so excited for my kids, is just to get out there and meet new people and see what else is outside of this little bubble, this wonderful bubble that we live in.
It is.
But there is a lot more out there. And that's part of the exciting part of my life right now, is just being able to watch my kids fly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And with Sterling, I'm like, I love that she gets to go see everything else, but I like the self-realization that, hey, Mom and Dad, thanks for,
Right.
Giving me a good, safe place to be and grow up and keep the friends that she grew up with. So, well, what else would you like our listeners and viewers to know? Like, is there anything else that you just really think is unique or that you would like to share?
The only other thing I would just share about Capital Farm Credit, just going back to that and our unique structure, is that we're a cooperative, which means you become a member owner of Capital Farm Credit. And what that does is it allows you to receive cooperative distributions each year. And that's based on the interest you paid in the prior year. And so typically what you get back is about a payment and a half back each year, which lowers your cost of borrowing. So you become a partner, you become a family member of the cooperative as well. And then after you pay off your loan, you will still receive another, I call it a bucket, another bucket of money that's used to operate Capital Farm. And so even after you've paid off your loan, there's money coming back to you. And that's just one of the great benefits we have and of being in the membership of Capital Farm.
Absolutely. I love buckets of money.
Yes.
I cannot say enough about Capital Farm Credit. You guys are great lenders. There's been times when, sometimes your buyer comes in and they're like, oh, no, it's fine. I've got a lender. And it doesn't work because land deals are different. And you guys know how to make those deals work. You know the production side. You have great resources to stay connected with the landowner and help them with that farm and ag use. And not only that, but y'all give back so much to the community. I see so many times y'all donating or sponsoring or supporting kids and different organizations. You sponsor the realtors and land and farm brokers. And I appreciate that.
Yes,
y'all do give back. Y'all are giving buckets of money. Always. I feel like.
And it's important to us to really back our kids and, to help support them, to remain in agriculture if they want to, or to diversify and help their family stay in agriculture if they want to, and then what it means to be a steward of the land. Mm-hmm. A lot of what we do is help advise, once they've bought their property, who are the people to talk to maintain their ranch, because it is work. No matter whether it's a ranchette or a 500 or 1,000 acre ranch, depending upon where it is. It takes a lot of resources and a lot of knowledge on how to keep that going. And we want to be that trusted advisor for them on, what does it look like today, and how can I keep it looking this way, and how can I improve it?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's a fun job.
I'm glad. I really am. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for being here today. We'll put your contact information both for Capital Farm Credit and for the Education Foundation.
Thank you.
You are amazing. I think that.
Well, I appreciate it. This is a fun opportunity, and I appreciate you. Like you said, just getting to learn about why people love Fredericksburg. There's so many good things. So many. Good things.
Sometimes our locals don't always get to meet or learn about these different organizations, and they've been here for a long time, and we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And sometimes if you've never been in a position to buy or sell land, it's a first time thing for someone. And so, as people change different seasons in their life and say, oh, you know what, I don't want to live in town anymore. I want to, move out in the country and start raising my own animals and gardening and stuff like that. And we're seeing a lot of that.
Yes.
So I think that going to the folks at Capital Farm Credit with any questions before you even buy is so important and a good first step.
Great. Yeah, we would love to visit and love to talk to people and see what their plans are and help them make that dream come true.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thanks for listening to Everything Real in Fredericksburg. Special thanks to Dixie Cope at Dankworth Dry Goods for providing our location. Get more information about the Fredericksburg area and contact Leanne at labaileyrealestate.com.